All
Right.
good on our end. Hi, welcome everybody. My name is Lisa Quigley. I am the Director of Account Strategy at TEP Network. I have been in marketing and communications for over 20 years, way back when, before digital marketing. I've worked with large Fortune 100 companies all the way down to small nonprofits and entrepreneurs. So very happy to be here to talk about how we can increase your donations for your nonprofit. And I am joined today by Alexis Kenny, and I will let her introduce herself.
Thanks, Lisa. Hi, I'm Alexis Kenny. Also have about 20 years in this space, about 10 years on the agency side, working both in the US and internationally. And then the other 10 years on the client side, about half of that working, probably sitting similar to where you're sitting in a nonprofit, managing a small team and a small budget, trying to figure out how to make the biggest impact we can with very limited resources. So understand where you're coming from and looking forward to going through this plan with you today. All right, should we get started?
Yes, absolutely. So a little bit about TAP Network for those of you who haven't been on one of our webinars before, but we've been working with TechSoup for about 8 years now. And we love to help not only TechSoup, but the nonprofits that are part of their organization translate complex technologies and communication software into actionable insights and services that you and your team can use. We do everything from websites, rebranding, we do email campaigns, communication campaigns, and I'm going to share, I was going to say full funnel, but for those of you who don't know what that is, I'm going to share over the next hour on what that is. And so if you have any questions, we'll be here to answer those and share our services at the end.
Oops. Going into what we're going to cover today. So we will go through an overview of what the full funnel approach is. We're going to go through each of the stages of a full funnel fundraising strategy, the implementation framework. We're going to have some time for questions and resources. We're going to talk about the different services that we offer at TechSoup and TAP Network, and then how to get started. So we will get right into it. Lisa, for those of us that don't know, can you tell us what we mean when we say a full funnel fundraising strategy?
Yes, that is a mouthful, but I am happy to answer that great question. So really, it's about guiding potential donors through a journey. Think of a funnel as your journey. Typically, it could be linear, but we're going to dive into that. But really, it's from the first time they hear about your nonprofit all the way down to becoming lifelong supporters. So that's what we mean when we say full funnel. It's like a roadmap. And first, we start with creating awareness. We need to attract new donors. But then that's not actually enough to just let people know about your organization. We need to engage with them. We need to use compelling storytelling and have meaningful interactions along the way to build that relationship. And actually, it's not enough to just build a relationship. You need to build a long-term relationship to really turn donors into advocates. And then we're going to shift from really one-time fundraising campaigns to a strategy that ensures really your donor growth. And I just saw a question about asking if TechSoup has services, and that's what we're going to get in today. We've helped thousands of nonprofits create a donor full funnel strategy. So there are 4 stages actually of this funnel. Awareness is what we call top of the funnel. Engagement and conversion really are, engagement is that middle funnel. Conversion is the bottom. And then the retention and growth is what we talk about when we talk about the flywheel. And here, this might help. I'm a visual person. This visual model may help. So on the left side is really your funnel. And on the right side is the flywheel. And both models are important, but they serve different purposes. So the funnel is what we think of, as I mentioned, a linear journey. You attract donors at the top, you nurture them in the middle, and then hopefully they convert at the bottom. But the problem is once they donate, they often fall out of the funnel. Unless you have that plan, what PowerPoint, Excel, if you're working with an organization, unless you have that plan to keep them engaged. The flywheel, on the other hand, focuses on that long-term engagement that I talked about that is really so important for growing your organization and funding the things that are important to your mission. So instead of moving donors through this one-way process, it really creates a continuous cycle that you're going to have to be mindful of doing on a regular basis to attract and engage and really delight donors, turning them into advocates. So we talked about a structured strategy, and some people mentioned that they're thinking about one. They may have one, again, that they're working on with their board. But how does the funnel tie into a structured strategy? And instead of just stopping at awareness and constantly chasing new donors in the door, if you have a strategy, you're building those lasting relationships, which means higher retention rates, and it's more predictable donations and revenue coming in the door. So why does a structured strategy really matter? And there's a couple of reasons why, but it keeps that steady stream of donors coming in. It keeps them engaged over time, and it optimizes that donation process. It also ensures predictability so that they're in there for the long haul.
So
All
now
right.
we'll, yeah, now we'll stop and take a break for a quick poll. So this should come up, will this come up on everyone's screen? A chance for, yeah, okay, great. What is your biggest fundraising challenge? So everyone take a moment and answer this question. Is it attracting new donors? Is it keeping your donors engaged? Or is it converting donors into recurring supporters? What is your organization's biggest fundraising challenge? Okay, so we're seeing these results come through here. It looks like, interestingly, Lisa, do you see this? It looks like attracting new donors seems to be the lead at 62%. But a lot of people have a challenge with converting donors into recurring supporters. Doesn't look like everyone's taken this yet, but should we stop the poll? Give another moment for everyone to take it.
Yeah.
Sorry,
And
I did too prematurely.
oh, that's okay. I couldn't see the responses, but now, yes, there's actually a good mix. And we find that many nonprofits struggle with usually all three. Donor retention, because they focus heavily on acquisition or awareness, but then they don't necessarily nurture those relationships. So definitely a strong strategy ensures that there's not money left on the table.
So you might have recognized that those three answers are the three stages of our fundraising funnel. So we're going to go into each of them more in detail now. Lisa, could you start with the top of the funnel, the awareness stage? So for all of us sitting here today, we know we've got a great organization. We know we're doing wonderful things, but how do we make sure we find the people that we need to tell in our community about what we're doing so that they can support us?
Absolutely. So top of the funnel. So a common mistake nonprofits make is assuming their mission alone will attract donors. The reality is, and I believe the statistic is about 7 times, but people need to see your message multiple times before they take action. So that's why consistent visibility is so important. Social media, it's a great way to let others know both organically about your organization, and we'll talk a little bit about paid ads that could be on social media, Facebook, Instagram, also Google. There are many ways digitally, and today we are focusing on digital ways of awareness, but also SEO and content marketing. So talking about what information is on your website, how are people finding you through search engines, and as we know, more traditional community partnerships and events. Been on boards of nonprofits that they have two really huge events each year, and that's how they not only engage with their donors and volunteers, but also attract new ones. So all of these aspects really play a part in top of the funnel awareness. Just a few examples to walk through of social media. We were talking about organic. This is a company that we worked with, Vituity Cares, and we were creating organic social posts. You'll see how the branding is incorporated here. So really, how can you make the most of it is one, to make sure that it is cohesive as far as the look and feel, but then also the messaging. So social media is really all about storytelling. So you don't want to just ask for donations. It's about sharing impact stories behind the scenes and really community wins. The key here is engagement. So when people comment or share your content, it increases your reach without spending money. Posting consistently is something that we talk about and we encourage our clients to do, and also using real stories. You want to foster an authentic relationship with your audience. And social media and organic posts is a really great way to do that. Another way to boost, as we know, if we've seen this, is paid media. So this is an example of the paid advertising we did for a virtual gala of theirs. So how does this fit into fundraising? You think you could boost and have lots of different ads, but paid ads really help your nonprofit get in front of the right audience and do it quickly. So there's targeting options on many platforms like LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, and you can reach people based on interests, location, even past engagement with your organization. So in this example, the nonprofit we were working with reached over 25,000 people for just a few $100s. But the key is to test different messaging. We need to track performance over time and optimize the ads to get the best performance on your investment. And these were just a couple of that top of the funnel. Alexis and I were talking about the Super Bowl ads, and there's a couple of nonprofits there. That is perfect top of the funnel awareness. But remember, it's not just about that one time, it's about consistency.
Thanks, Lisa. So in this example, we found our target audiences. We reached them through targeted social media, organic social media. We drove them to our websites. Now they're aware of us. They know who we are. They know what we do. They're on our website. Now what?
All right. Now we are in the middle of the funnel, which is all about relationships with our donors. It's all about engagement. So some people, just because they're aware, again, it doesn't mean that they'll immediately donate. So this is the stage where we build trust and relationships. And tactics or strategies that we use that are very effective are email campaigns, webinars, virtual events, again, social media interaction, and that personalized one-on-one outreach. If you're not staying in touch with potential donors, they really will forget about you. And the goal here is to make sure they feel connected, and that is even before you ask for money. Engagement doesn't happen even automatically with all of these tactics. So regular communication and personalized updates. This is, again, an email that we did for Vituity Cares. You'll see that it's personalized with their first name. It was a follow-up email based on donor action, and there was some urgency and call to action buttons. So there is a method to even sending out emails, making sure that it's appropriate and it's hitting your audience at the right time and to the right person. Platforms like MailChimp, HubSpot, there's many others can help you automate these sequencings, making sure that they're personalized and again, going out at the right time. So this is really a game changer because it acts as another resource for you and your team. It's doing this while you are able to concentrate on other important matters. And we'll get into HubSpot and these tools a little bit more as we go through. But this quick view is a workflow that we set up for that organization.
Great. Thanks, Lisa. We've got another poll for you. What is the best donor engagement tactic that you've used in your organization? Is it email campaigns, events or webinars, case studies, white papers, or ebooks? Go ahead and fill that out. I see the responses coming through. Looks like events and webinars and email campaigns are both coming through really strong, pretty equal actually. Case studies, white papers and ebooks a little less so, but events and webinars and email campaigns are both coming through pretty much 50-50. Lisa, would you say that's pretty common through what we've seen?
Yes, for sure. And definitely emails are a very successful way that we see attracting donors. But honestly, the best engagement depends on your audience. So some donors love attending events, while others prefer reading stories in an email. So the key really is to know your audience, know your goals, and test and refine based on what works for your supporters.
Great. So I would say this is going really well. We've reached our target audience. They've come back to us. They seem engaged with our communications. It looks like they like what we're doing. We think this relationship's going really well. How do we take this to the next level? Because really what we need are donors. We think they're supporting our messages. They're supporting us, but donors is really what this is all about. What do we do next?
Yep. So once we've guided them through awareness and engagement, we really need a seamless donation experience. So we're going to talk about clear donation pages, automating those tasks. What does it mean to do those personalized outreach? And then other tips and tactics such as matching gift and urgency and driving those CTAs, which we call to action, making sure that along the funnel we have clear calls to action. One surprising fact is that 63% of donations actually happen on a desktop. I've seen many memes and many people talking about people making purchases or donations. It's really hard to do it just on a cell phone, especially for an audience that is over a certain age. So we really want to make sure that your landing page or your donation page is optimized so you're not losing out on those potential gifts. Again, this was, we're using Vituity Cares. We did a homepage redesign that was nurtured, educated the audience. It was very clear what we wanted them to do once they got to that landing page. So for you, if you are thinking about creating your website, redesigning your landing page, what does a strong homepage look like? Your homepage is really and often the first impression donors have of your organization. So if it's not clear, if it's not engaging or easy to navigate, donors will bounce right off before they even reach the donation page. So a strong homepage should have immediately communicate who you are and what you do. That clear call to action again, like donate, get involved, or learn more, and make sure it's optimized for all platforms. So not only for a cell phone, but make sure for an iPad and for a desktop that It's optimized for easy donation. On the flip side, a bad homepage is something that's cluttered, confusing, or it lacks a call to action. If donors have to search for how to give, then they probably won't, but that makes sense. So a high converting donation page versus a low converting donation page. Once a donor reaches that page, there is a difference. If we remove friction, we've probably experienced it in our personal lives where you've gone to make a purchase and you just can't put in your credit card. So we really don't want to lose people because there is friction or they can't find the button or the button doesn't work. This may seem very simple, but we've seen it time and time again. Uh, Also long forms, when you have someone on your page, you really might want to think, oh, I want them to be donors. I want them to come to this event, but very simple, clear forms. Only as the essentials will really make the fields, will make the process more user-friendly and less likely to drop off. So too many steps really makes a bad donation page. Keep it simple and keep it focused.
We're on to our last poll. Where do most donors drop off in your funnel? So think about your organization, or if you haven't tried this, just take a guess. Is it at the awareness stage, the engagement stage, conversion, or retention? Pretty even mix. We're seeing a pretty even mix. Conversions coming a little ahead, but this is a pretty even mix, I'd say, Lisa.
Yep, and you're getting the results before I see them. So,
Oh, am I?
but
Yeah.
typically, yes, when we talk about conversion and retention rates, they are the biggest challenges. Many nonprofits focus so much on getting donors in the door, but they don't really have a plan to keep them engaged after they give. So that's why we don't start at the funnel. We shift to that flywheel model. So donation, it isn't the end, it's actually just the beginning. So everyone thought, well, wait a minute, I have questions about that first part. We got to work through the first part of the funnel. And of course, we'll help you every step of the way. And I see questions coming in. But it is important to just mention that that isn't where your um, donor's journey should end. The most successful nonprofits, they don't treat donations as one-time nonprofits. They really see it as the start of a relationship. And oops, one stat that I do love is frequent donor communication leads to 41 or 42% increase in revenue or those donations. So that was a stat from 2025 from Nonprofit Tech for Good. So again, it just hits home that everything that we're talking about, the consistency is so important in your strategy. I want to talk a little bit about this part of the flywheel. How do you engage and how do you keep donors coming back and connected? And if anybody's received a thank you note, a personalized thank you email, a short story that just pulls at the heartstrings of whatever your mission, a volunteer from the executive director, they go really far in not only keeping them donors engaged, but helping them feel special. Impact reports. This could be a summary for the year. It could be a summary for the quarter. Tell them where exactly their money is going. That transparency will help donors keep giving all year long. And then we all like something special. So giving donors a behind the scenes access makes them feel special, perhaps even a donor only event or a newsletter once a year. Again, the goal here with engagement is to keep the donor emotionally invested, not just financially invested. So delight. Delight is our next part of our flywheel. once they're engaged, you turn them into a long-term supporter by making sure that they are delighted. So a couple of strategies that we would suggest and we use with our clients could be something like a birthday or an anniversary recognition. Perhaps there's a matching gift campaign, or like I mentioned before, exclusive content. So when donors feel valued beyond their donation, they're really more likely to stay committed to your cause. Just going to touch briefly on one of the tools. I had talked about it before when I mentioned HubSpot and MailChimp, but utilizing AI, utilizing technology and tools really help to streamline your offerings, your services, and help you do the most with the resources that you have. So HubSpot helps nonprofits automate donor communication, like the email sequences we were talking before, segment donors. Many organizations don't have just one audience. They're speaking to multiple different audiences, which means that the messages should be different. And you really want to personalize those emails so people feel special and go through the whole process that we talked about. And using these tools will help you do that. And then the most important thing is track engagement and retention. So I talked in the beginning about 20 years ago, we used marketing and traditional marketing and communication strategies. There was very little tracking that we had. We had to say, hey, did you feel like people are responding? But now there are so many tools to be able to say, this is the exact message or subject line this worked. This is the CTA that got and I'm sorry, CTA is call to action. So it's a call to action to donate, and some work better than others. So utilizing this technology instead of spreadsheets and just follows up will really make what you do more impactful, and also lead to less admin work, so you can focus on growing your organization. So a couple more final takeaways. Talk about our services that we offer. I know a couple people were asking, and we have Jason and Zach on here who work every day with nonprofits, but we have 3 different tiers that we work with. Our first one is our first service offering is our digital marketing and technology audit. This will walk you through a tech audit to talk about those technologies I was just talking about, HubSpot, MailChimp, explain to you not only their offerings, but the price, and aligning the technology with your goals. So we have that audit available for you. We go through a marketing strategy, develop that user journey, which we like to call full funnel roadmap for your donors. And then we're going to recommend platforms. We talked briefly about different social media platforms that you could use, but depending on your goals, depending on your audience, we may recommend different platforms to implement your strategy on. Again, when I talked about segmenting your list, each user, each audience that you're trying to target has a different roadmap for how they find you. And understanding that roadmap for, is it word of mouth? Is it through a gala? Is it through general awareness, will allow us to really target that messaging to get them in the end to donate. So that is just one of our service offerings. There are 2 more that are more retainer packages versus that one-time audit. We have a $900 a month retainer and a $12.99 a month retainer. And you will get these slides, and we're happy to answer any questions. But if you want to check that out, you
And
can go
Lisa,
to the
I'll just
text.
add, oh, sorry, I think I jumped
Oh,
ahead. Lisa, I'll just add that Jason just put a note in the chat with a link to schedule a time to have a chat with him if anyone wants to have a chat with him about any of these packages to see if it might be a good fit for your organization. the audit or either of the retainer packages.
Wonderful. And this is where you can find us on the website, our services. And then just for TechSoup members, we are offering amazing resources. You can find them through the link in the PowerPoint slides that we'll send you. Here is how to choose a CRM. And before we get the question, a CRM is a content management system. So that is essentially, if you've heard of Salesforce, HubSpot, there are many, many different CRMs out there with many different price points. So how, when you're ready to have that technology help you streamline your nonprofit, how do you choose the right one? So we're offering that to you. And then our newly released 2025 benchmark study gives you a snapshot of what your colleagues are doing, and really goes in depth to how the strategies around AI for different nonprofits. So you'll want to check that out as well. Are we ready to answer some questions?
Thank you, Lisa. I think I was sort of playing the role of the audience here, and I've been scanning the questions. And if there's any questions in the chat that Jason from our team hasn't gotten to, please answer them or ask them again. There was one I saw above that was, how do we find our donors? And that's a great question, and different for every single organization, but really important in finding the right people. But it depends on your organization. And I guess I'll give an example from when I was in a nonprofit. It was an education-based nonprofit. So our donors were people that were alumni of that organization or otherwise affiliated with that organization. So think about people who have benefited from your program or otherwise affiliated with the program or might benefit from the work you do in your program. Just start writing a list and cast that net wide and think of anyone that you could put on that list and then just start growing it from there. So sometimes your donors are also those you serve, but in many cases, your donor list is a different list from those you serve.
Yep, and I would just add on to that, that looking at previous donors as well. So to create, I mentioned retargeting. So if you have a list of followers, you can actually reach out to them again through paid ads to try and grow that audience, the people that are there, but also lookalike audiences. So they say, oh, this is the demographics of our audience. We're going to try to find people who are just like them who may be interested in our organization.
Any other questions?
Stacy says, my largest issue is going from an annual appeal by mailing to an email appeal. I think that my target donor is older and I have no access to email. And Stacy, I think that many nonprofits and many organizations are feeling that on multiple levels. One way I've just seen that recently this week is that for those that had a following on TikTok or had a following on social media, but did not have those emails, email addresses is really where you own that content. So it is really of the utmost importance to be gathering those emails. And if you're just starting out and it's at events, have a drawing so you can collect those emails. Have that list of sign up for a newsletter. Try and at every interaction to start collecting those emails. And for organizations that may have a budget to look into different software platforms and technology to target your audience and gain email and contact information, kind of going down that paid route is also an option. But we see that, we hear you, and I think it's just about making that strategy and that plan for starting to collect those email addresses, and then even beyond that, to be able to have a plan to how you're going to interact with them on a regular basis.
Hey, ladies, I want to jump in on that white paper question. I saw Jennifer had asked again about what are white papers. And I just wanted to let you know, Jennifer, there's kind of two ways to kind of guide clients and your potential prospects on how you can be impactful for them. And so white paper is the more in-depth version. The other version is called a case study, typically. Case studies are very short versions or clips where people can easily see a relatable story that might be similar to one they're experiencing and going, I have that issue. That's something it sounds like they can help me with and they can get started. A white paper on the opposite end is something that's more like it can be 5 to 10 pages, more in depth, and really walks through the core issues that they're encountering, how they were resolved, and kind of more of a long play on the story. So very impactful when you're trying to drive people in the door and let them understand kind of the reason that you do what you do, so you resonate with them. And so white papers can be very impactful, but maybe case studies would be more impactful for you short term if you've done neither.
Awesome, Jason. Thanks for sharing. There's a couple more questions and just comments in the chat. Maurice shared that we've gotten repeat donors by sharing our story and sharing our story in person. But yes, I think I just wanted to call that out to say it's a great tactic and emphasizes the importance of creating that authentic connection to your donors, to your volunteers, and that will keep them engaged long term.
Sharon, to answer your question, we've mentioned in some of the last slides our services, and when we send this out, you'll be able to see our services, our retainer, and there's a link above you could book an appointment with Jason from our team if you want to know more about our services.
Yep, and Tom had two more questions. So yes, again, the links in the documents are active links, and you'll be able to click through to get those resources, and also to book a time to meet with us if you didn't get that email or the link that Jason shared in the chat. Tom also asked, what is our take on paid email list packages versus collecting them on our own? And I'll share my experience, and then Alexis, if you have any experience, I'd love to hear your take. But collecting on your own is always preferred. You know, you had interaction with the person. They already know you. And again, if you remember, it takes 7 touch points for someone to really be aware and engage with your organization. That is always the preferred method. However, purchasing a paid email list isn't a bad idea either if you have that funding. I would just caution, in my experience, it just depends on where you're purchasing that list and making sure that it's a very reputable company. Because again, you don't want to purchase email lists and then send out an email and have them all be bad emails, and that hurts your bounce rate. It hurts those statistics. So there are a couple of very good organizations that we've worked with. How about you, Alexis? Any
I would say
experience?
the exact same thing. And I think sometimes a purchased email list might be good if you're doing something like social media targeting, and particularly if you're putting the emails into the back end of social media and then building a lookalike list and you just want volume. That might help if you're then driving to a social media targeted campaign, if you just need a volume. But yes, always better to generate and more accurate to generate the list on your own when you can.
Absolutely. Laverne had a great question about how do you optimize a web page? Now, that is a very good question and probably pretty detailed, so much so that I believe we have a TechSoup webinar that was an hour dedicated to 10 steps to a highly converting landing page. So be sure to go on TechSoup's YouTube page for that, and we can try to send that link to you as well. But the quick answer to that question, is always starting with the goal of your organization and then putting yourself in your audience's shoes. And we do go through this 10-step process for how to lay out a landing page to answer those questions that people coming to your website might have immediately. Of course, a couple that come to mind, the first one is, what do you do? And then is, what is the problem that you're solving? What's your solution? And again, this doesn't have to be long, but just very simple highlights. Another thing that are on that we suggest and is on many websites is, are you then credible? So making sure that there are statistics, there are logos, there's reasons that you are a credible organization. But again, we fine-tune this based on your organization's goals. So I hope that helped in a quick answer. Alexis, any other? And Jason, you can chime in, but optimizing web pages for nonprofits.
No, that's it. I think it's yeah, it's about user experience and messaging and SEO, right? But there's a formula to it. It's not something that you can just quickly do on your own, really.
Yeah, Lisa, I think you touched on it really well. I have this conversation thousands of times, and I try to tell people it's, what do you do? Why should I care? And how do I get involved? And the reason I say why should I care is because we're all about digital relevance. Why is your organization relevant to me? And why should I care? And if it's something that I can really align with your dreams or aspirations, because you're typically not selling a good or product as a nonprofit, then it's something you very quickly can earn my trust for me to read on, for me to dig deeper, for me to try to see how you work or why what you do is truly important. But if you don't resonate with your target audience quickly, you can struggle to get conversions because they simply will click the X because they're probably engaging with you on your website. Because when we learn new information in the US, we pull out our phone, we go to Google, and we type it in. That means odds are they're going to hit your website to learn about you before they speak with anyone that probably can articulate it in a better manner. So make sure your website isn't misleading and that it does create that curiosity and awareness that you strive for.
I'm so glad you shared with me how often you update your homepage, because today we're going to be talking about how to create a high converting homepage. So welcome to the webinar. My name is Aretha Simons. I'm the webinar producer here at TechSoup. I'm going to let you know how you can engage.
Was everybody hearing Aretha?
Yeah.
I thought that was really her. So I was pulling up the link to the webinar, which I will share with you now, which she was doing a wonderful introduction to the webinar that we did. So I will put that in the chat, and then everyone.
Oh, that they asked to send in the chat. Perfect.
But I had clicked on it. Aretha, I thought that you were kicking off another webinar for us, but unfortunately, we only have 15 more minutes.
Right. I was like, what is that?
And I think somebody posted another one in the chat as well, which is the comparison of the CRMs, which was on TAP's website as well. So thanks for posting that, Tom.
Wonderful.
I think we've gotten to all the questions. Are there any others that we've missed?
I don't see any. Well, we hope that this was informative. It's always great to interact with you on the chat and hear the challenges and the successes that you're having with your nonprofit. We love partnering with TechSoup and all of the nonprofits. We'll be on with another webinar, I think later this month. So we hope to see you all then.